Breaking news. Fury as EU relaxes imports from China. They're jeopardizing decades of growth. The European Union has been accused of ignoring basic trade rules after it ended import restrictions on Chinese-made solar panels. Traders and manufacturers fear being priced out of the market after the EU allowed cheap imports of solar panels, wafers and cells from China, as of Monday. Arguing this decision had been taken in the best interests of the EU as a whole, the European Commission added the need for restrictions, first introduced in 2013, had been decreasing over time. Solar technology had become cheaper over the last 5 years, meaning imports were more aligned to European market prices, the Commission said. But the decision hasn't been welcomed by European producers and companies. Milan Nitsk, the president of EU ProSun, the grouping of EU solar panels producers, said European manufacturers would be devastated when the measures end. Milan Nitsk, the president of the group, said, while other big markets such as the US, India, Canada, or Turkey are implementing strict measures against being flooded by dumped Chinese-produced solar modules, the EU is going to terminate its existing anti-dumping measures and throwing open the doors to its market. To reject the legitimate request of the EU industry for an expiry review violates basic EU trade defense law. But, most of all, it jeopardizes a heritage of 30 years of technological development undertaken by the EU's solar manufacturing industry and severely damages 40 manufacturing companies operating in 17 European member states. Today, solar energy is already the cheapest source of electricity in Europe. It will not get cheaper if the current anti-dumping measures expire. It will only be that importers' margins will increase a little. But, the damage to the manufacturing industry, and indeed the whole value chain, will be devastating. EU ProSun had launched an initial complaint against Chinese imports in 2012. 1 year later, Brussels adopted measures allowing Chinese manufacturers to sell solar products in the continent free of duties only at or above a minimum price. If sold for less than that price, importers were subjected to duties of up to 64.9%. The European Commission extended the protective tariffs in March last year for further 18 months, signaling that they should then end. EU ProSun had demanded a further extension of the measures as their expiration date was approaching, but their request remained unheard. The Chinese government has welcomed the end of restrictions. In a statement, China's Commerce Ministry described the move as a model for successfully resolving trade frictions through consultations. They added, the move will restore EU-China trade of photovoltaics to a normal market condition, will provide a more stable and predictable business environment for cooperation between the two sides' industries, and will truly realize mutual benefit for both sides. The lift of the measures has also been welcomed by Solar Power Europe, which represents importers and installers in the continent. The movement described the move as a watershed moment for Europe's solar industry and that it removes the biggest barrier to growth of the sector.